questions that you type in there. So we'll go ahead and get started. Our agenda is, like I said, the AFib overview. We're going to talk a little bit about data days, the achievement measures. We're going to look at the trends since 2013 when the actual, when this actual module was created or started. And then we're going to talk about joining forces, how the AHA and the Heart Rhythm Society have joined forces. We're going to highlight some of the Heart Rhythm Society conferences, talk about some research, look at the new website that was launched for the AHA because there's tons of information that's really great in there. Some educational opportunities, cryptogenic stroke toolkit, and then we will end with some important dates. So first of all, with the AFib overview, that's no medical mystery and there's no secrets to this, but when you have the latest and best evidence-based treatment to improve and save the lives of your patient, and that's what we're trying to do with these Get With the Guidelines modules. Sorry about that. I'm click happy. I'm actually going to go to a website and play this short little video because I think it describes things much better than I can. And this video actually the video was actually done by our president of the Get With the Guidelines Exchange Committee. So he's got for AFib. And so he will kind of explain an overview of why we have this. I really like that keep pace with racing hearts too. That's pretty cool.
Get With the Guidelines AFib is a national quality improvement program by the American Heart Association to evaluate patients with atrial fibrillation and to initiate the appropriate management for them while they're in the hospital or in an observational status. So atrial fibrillation is a very prevalent disorder. There are about 2.7 million people with atrial fibrillation in the United States. About 75% of them would benefit from the use of oral anticoagulation therapy. And we know that we're only hitting about 50% of those patients. 50 to 60% of those patients are getting the appropriate treatment. What we're trying to do is to close that treatment gap, and I think we have a very significant opportunity to do that with Get With the Guidelines AFib. Well, we know that Get With the Guidelines is effective. We've studied the ability of Get With the Guidelines to initiate anticoagulation therapy for patients with atrial fibrillation in the stroke module, so we know that it works. But there are so many more patients that we'd like to get to before they have a stroke, and that's why we're initiating this module and Get With the Guidelines. So while we know it will be beneficial and we know that we will be successful at this, we're trying to reach a broader audience. Get With the Guidelines AFib is not just a database. It's a whole set of things that make our quality improvement program really run very well. The first piece of that is the quality improvement field staff. There is one-to-one hospital field staff interaction to assure the best execution of that quality improvement module. The second part about this is the patient management tool. The online patient management tool is used to help hospitals guide therapy at the time the patient is in the hospital, that is concurrently, so that it's not a retrospective database. It's an active, concurrent data acquisition and quality improvement module. The next piece that is very important about the Get With the Guidelines program is from its inception, it was not designed to be a one-size-fits-all type of approach. We go into hospitals and we look at what your quality improvement programs look like, and we design the Get With the Guidelines program around your own quality improvement program. It is a rapid cycle quality improvement program. It's not just a database for gathering data. Better quality has always been associated with cost improvement and cost savings. When you look at the current process by which CMS is looking at readmissions for heart failure, for instance, we know that providing excellent quality in heart failure is going to actually improve savings for a hospital directly. Get With the Guidelines AFib will look at those patients who have heart failure and help manage those patients better. Because the atrial fibrillation is controlled, the patient's readmission rate will be less and the ability to control costs will be greater.
So that's just a quick overview of the program, what it's about. I think the thing that struck me the most when I listened to this is that only about half of the patients who require anticoagulation are actually receiving it. And the saddest part about that is that people with atrial fib have a 5-fold increase of stroke. So it's pretty sad that that we're not treating the patients that need it to help prevent a stroke from occurring. Because a stroke, you know, is disabling and affects you the rest of your life. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the data days that we've been doing. So we do these data days quarterly, and then the AHA director will send you out your Q2 data snapshot. And you should have gotten those within the last week or two. We are down a couple of directors, one in Colorado and one in the New Mexico area. So if you did not get your report, then please let me know. Either put a message in the chat box, send me an email, whatever, and we will make sure that you get that report, because it is really a good report to give you a snapshot of what is happening. And actually, this really is a snapshot. It's a snapshot of the day that we received the raw data from IQVIA. So whatever day that is what this data is going to show. And it was July 1, I believe. And so this is a fluent, like he said, it's a fluent kind of a database. So every time somebody adds a patient or you add a patient, it's going to change your data. And it'll also change the nationwide data. So just so you realize that when you're getting these reports, they're snapshot. They're probably, you most likely are not finished. When we do July 1, most likely you're not going to be finished through June with your data entry. And that's understandable. I mean, you know, we expect it can be 6 weeks or more late time. So, but again, this is a snapshot just to show you where you're at, to identify areas that we can improve on or you can improve on, and ways that we may be of assistance to you. So October of 2018, we'll be sending out the Q3 data snapshots of whatever information you have for your hospital in that database, or PMP. November of 2018, oh, this isn't right. The gold and silver, I say hospitals are recognized at scientific sessions, but this year the AFib ones will actually be recognized at QCOR, and QCOR is a different kind of a conference, and one of the tracks that they're going to have in the QCOR this year will be on Get With the Guideline programs and ways to use it, ways to improve it, and so on. So there'll be a whole track during this, and I'll talk about the QCOR a little bit more at the end of this conference. And then January 2019, you will receive your Q4 year-end snapshot. The goal for deadline for completing the PMP records for calendar year 18 is February 28 to be considered for awards. And actually, that gives you a month lead time, or gives us a month lead time to take a look at your data. You can maybe sometimes the problem is that you may have missed something, may have accidentally marked something wrong, the abstractors, or whatever. But this gives you an opportunity to actually drill down into that data, find out who that patient is, and go back and review the case. When you review the case, and that can help you to improve over time, identify some of the issues that are causing the fallout, and maybe even form a team to work on those kind of things. So the information, these are just things that we're trying to do for you to help you to make sure, to help you to achieve the awards, and showing that you are like some of the best AFib hospitals in the country because you are following the evidence-based medicine. So I hope that you're finding these days helpful. And then our quality exchange usually happens about a couple weeks, about 2 weeks after you receive, or a week to 2, after you receive your reports. So again, the intent is to look at your information, see if there's any questions you have, see if you'd like to talk to somebody else on the exchange call that's maybe doing something that can help you with your data, or maybe you can help somebody else with a specific problem. So the next thing we're going to look at is a work performance trend. So the AFib Get With the Guidelines module is the newest module that we have at the American Heart Association. We started in actually 2013, so this kind of gives you a trend over time of from 2013 to 2017 on how we're doing with these measurements. So actually, for the most part, the 6 measurements, performance measures are, at 85 or higher %, although our CHADS-2 VASC-C risk documented prior to discharge, that is at 72%, so can use a little bit of work on that one, as well as the statin at discharge in AFib patients with CAD, CVA, TIA, peripheral vascular disease, or diabetes for those types of patients. So, but this just kind of gives you an idea of what's been happening since the birth of this program. So now we're going to look at our actual Southwest affiliate achievement measure averages. So what we're looking at on this one is Q1 and Q2. The blue is Q1, the orange color is Q2, and then the aggregate. And so I'll actually talk more about the aggregate measures, because when we look at the awards, that is actually what we're looking at, is the aggregate information. So this particular one, the ACE, ARB, and ARNI prior to discharge, if the LV ejection fraction is less than or equal to 40, we're at 64%. And I did take a look at, there's 159 hospitals altogether across the United States that are entering information into this database, or PMP. And so currently you have the ability to benchmark against nearly 4,000 patient records. So that's a pretty good number of records that you can kind of see how you are performing compared to other hospitals. And you can run that data yourself. You can compare, you can run an actual report that shows you what your data versus what all hospitals in your area. There's several different benchmarking groups that you can choose to look at and compare yourself to. So I would encourage you to look at those too and share those with your staff, with the physicians, even the medical staff teams and the medical executive committees. So anyway, so back to the reports. Measure 1 for Q1, Q2, all hospitals for the ACE, ARB, and ARNI is 84.3%. And right now, like I said, our Southwest affiliate is at 64%. Now again, these numbers change every day, and most likely all of Q2 is not in here, so it's just a comparison. But it looks like we're not doing quite as well as the rest of the hospitals on this particular measure. Measure 2 is the beta blocker, prescribed prior to discharge, again, when the LV ejection fraction is less than or equal to 40. And we, right now, as a Southwest affiliate, are at 72%. Nationwide, it's at 95.3%. So again, we have some work that we can do on that particular measure. The CHADS-S2 VASC risk score, documented prior to discharge. Currently, we are at 66%, and as you have seen in the trend report, that is one of them that's not at the 85% level. And currently, Q1 and 2 for the CHADS-VASC is at 74.4%. So we're not that far off from the national national results on that measure at this particular time. The fourth measure is the FDA-approved anticoagulation prescribed prior to discharge. That one, we are at 83%, so we're getting very close to the 85% that's going to be needed, and there's plenty of time to get that, still 6 months to go. Nationwide, the anticoagulation is at 98.8%. So again, we're falling a little bit behind the nation, but so it just shows that we have room to improvement, and we'll have ways that we can do that. The PT-INR plan follow-up documented prior to discharge for warfarin treatment is at 61%. For our affiliate and for the nation, it is at 85.4%. So the nation is right on the actual 85% or higher achievement measure requirement, and we fall a little bit below that. The statin at discharge is another one that's been kind of a little bit of a challenge over the years, and it continues to be somewhat of a challenge. We are at 67% of that for the for our affiliate, but you know, it appears that a lot of our measures have improved quite a bit over this last quarter too, as far as what we had for the information. So that's really good. It's showing that you're doing some work. It's showing that you're able to achieve what your goals are, and to continue to give the patients the best care that they need. National statin is at 78.3%. So we continue nationally to need to work on that particular measure. So do you have any questions or comments about the Get With the Guidelines Achievement Measure report, whether it be the trend, the nation, or your own hospital? Or is there anything that you'd like to share that you've changed or that you've done to help to improve some of these measures? I'm going to open up the line, just give you some time, *6 to unmute and mute your audio, and please ask questions or make comments, or you can type them in the box and Michelle will let me know. So *6 to unmute, anything that you've done to improve or questions you have. No questions at this time. Okay, well, anytime. Again, you can *6, interrupt me, or type a message into the box for Michelle to let me know about, because, you know, this is for you. You guys know more about this stuff than I do, and it's for you. You guys are the ones that are working on these programs, and we just want to be helpful. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was that we do now, with the Get With the Guidelines AFib, there's a data integration that we've been working on. We did some pilot studies over the last year or two that was sponsored by the AHA to try to work on ways that we can help the abstractors abstract some of the information, because we know it takes a long time for you all to do the data abstraction, and then if somebody's actually doing the abstraction, looking at it, trying to get a committee together, trying to work through some process improvements, it's a lot of stuff to put on your plate. So one of the things that we had worked on was this pilot, and the intent is to expand its functionality so that we can include data integration that can take the information right out of the electronic medical record and populate the registry, and do that automatically. This integration creates efficiencies to the data entry process, saving time for the data abstractors. And it allows for the manual and systematic update of EHR data into the registry. So, and then the other thing is, did you know that we're also working on something that auto-populates some of the data points via Get With the Guidelines heart failure and stroke that can go into the AFib tool as well. So just some information about data integration. We're really trying to work out to help you with some of the time factor that it takes to get all of this information together. Are there any questions about that? *6 to unmute. Not a very talkative group. So I'm going to go back on next to joining forces for atrial fibrillation patients. So that's where I had mentioned the AHA and the Heart Rhythm Society are working together to engage more hospitals and clinicians to learn about the quality improvement, and then to participate in the program to help with the quality improvement for the real-time ability to look at your data and work on processes. To increase educational opportunities for the specialty cardiologists, the electrophysiologists, and we like to do that through webinars and through national conferences. So the webinars that we have had and will have in the future will all be posted on the AHA website. So you can go in and take a look at those at any time, and there's some really great conferences for all of our webinars within all of the different modules. So if you're interested in that, I will show you eventually in the presentation, I'll show you how to do that. Also, to help advance cardiovascular research and quality improvement through joint efforts. AFib is kind of a standalone type of disease. It's not so much like stroke where you can get a committee of people together and it's a specific population. AFib, as you know, happens throughout the hospital. So in order to identify those patients and to make sure that they're getting the things that they need to help prevent stroke or other complications is really, really important. So advancing the research is something that we're really going to be working on here in the next few years. And then supporting improvements in quality of care and effective management of the patient. So again, oops, all right, I always see that. Again, there is a little short video, and I want to show you this because I think it has some really good information, and you are able to get to these videos as well and share those with your administration or with whoever might be interested in learning more of it if you need to plead your case or whatever you might need to do. So this is the joining forces, and this is, I'm going to make sure it's the right one. Yep, it is. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. This is a 4-minute video.
My name is William Lewis. I'm the chair of the clinical work group for the Get With the Guidelines AFib program. I'm Michael Gold, and I'm currently the president of the Heart Rhythm Society. The Heart Rhythm Society decided to partner with American Heart Association on the Get With the Guidelines AFib program because there clearly is a need. Atrial fibrillation is the largest, most common arrhythmia that we see in clinical practice. It's growing very rapidly as the patient population ages and other risk factors continue to increase. And when we had a program that involved atrial fibrillation, we felt it was very important to collaborate and partner with that organization. There's a clear gap in our understanding of how to optimally treat these patients, that clear need for improving our treatment of these patients. Get With the Guidelines AFib is a national quality improvement program by the American Heart Association, which has been shown to improve adherence to guidelines in atrial fibrillation. Now, we know that outcomes improve when adherence to guidelines increases. And so thus the real goal of Get With the Guidelines AFib is to prevent the consequences of atrial fibrillation like stroke, heart failure, and death. Hospitals benefit as we've had programs for education, for best practices for hospitals, and ultimately we think patients benefit both from the education that we provide directly to patients as well as improving procedures as well as hospital care and identification of best treatment. We know that these guidelines save lives, and therefore if we can improve the adherence to guidelines, patients in the end are the winners. They are going to see fewer episodes of stroke, less heart failure, fewer deaths, and a better patient experience. We also will be able to collaborate on the database to do really great research that can actually improve outcomes for patients nationwide as well. One of the really unique aspects of a registry like this is that it's not a closed system where we're going to decide what information gets disseminated. Each hospital can decide what information they need. We believe that the strategy being adopted of this open platform of individualization of data is going to advance patient care tremendously. This will allow us to have hospitals do internal validation of their approaches. It's going to be so helpful to have more information so that there'll be less indecision that occurs on almost a daily basis. Working with the Heart Rhythm Society is a great benefit to the American Heart Association. When both of these organizations work together, we will be able to reach more patients and refine the program to make it better than it is currently. The best thing of working with the American Heart Association is that it's a first-class organization. I strongly believe that the Heart Rhythm Society is also a first-class organization, and we can work together in the absence of egos to do what's best. We can take advantage of each other's skills, and with a common goal of trying to create the best product we can and create the best way that we can care for our patients. And there is nothing more personal than having a discussion with a patient about how their treatment for atrial fibrillation is going to progress. If you're a cardiologist, you don't go through a day or two without atrial fibrillation. An electrophysiologist, you don't go through an hour or two without being impacted by atrial fibrillation. A large number of patients, when we think about giving them a blood thinner, the discussion is over the risks and benefits of doing that. And that's where guideline adherence is really important. And that's where the Get With the Guidelines program helps us, because it gives us a framework in which to discuss with that patient, that individual patient, what their best outcome can be. And that's the benefit of this program.
So any questions on that? I think that, that this partnership is very, very important in continuing to improve our patient care for those that we're caring for and to reach a higher population. One thing that I have a question about is, what is the experience level in using these tools for those people that are on the call? Have you had much experience? What do you do with your information? *6 to unmute it. Please share some of your ideas or information on what you're doing with the information. Hopefully you're able to use it within your hospitals to improve care. Or type in the chat box. Hello, somebody want to have a question or comment? *6. No, Michelle, anything in the chat box?
Nothing so far, Deb.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on. So this is a publication that was just recently published through the American Heart Association News, and it's a call for a deeper understanding of AFib, a growing and dangerous heart rhythm disorder. This was just published April 16th. And some of the key points it just talks about what AFib is, which you all know, the quivering or irregular heartbeat in the upper chambers of the heart, and which can, patients can go in and out of AFib, and sometimes that will, when they go back into AFib, can shoot some blood clots to the brain and can cause a stroke. And the AFib is probably one of the most devastating causes of stroke, as far as for the ischemic stroke anyway, as far as damage and disability. So it increases the risk of blood clots, as we know. It affects 6.1 million people in the United States, and researchers are expecting that number to double by 2015. And untreated AFib doubles the risk of heart-related death, and it increases a person's chance of having a stroke by 5-fold. So feel free to use this information. You will receive a copy of these. If you want to share that with any of your staff, with your physicians, with your administration, whoever, feel free to use anything here. The next thing I was going to talk about, unless somebody has a question, will be the highlights of the Heart Rhythm Society meeting that was held in May in Boston. So one of the things that was a highlight of it was the future of digital health. So it was a really hot topic of discussion. And they focused on wearables, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity. So what does that mean? Well, the artificial intelligence, that was featured on CNBC, and there's a link here. And it showcased how A1 and the deep neural networks can help identify patients with congenital LQ2TS despite normal QTs and on their EKG. The wearable technologies, there was one study coming out of South Korea, and it found that popular consumer wearables, including like the Apple Watch, the Samsung Galaxy Gear, or the Fitbit Charge 2, can accurately measure induced PSVT. So that's pretty cool too, that different ways and new things that are coming out, new technology that's happening. And actually, I met a patient at a conference one time, and she was showing me a thing that she had on her phone that hooked right up to her cardiologist, who happened to be her husband, I think, or something like that, the cardiologist. But anyway, it could record at any time she felt funny or felt like she may be going in and out of AFib. She just pushed a button. It would record, and it would go directly to the cardiologist so that the cardiologist could take a look at it and see if she needed to come in, if there was anything going on, or how often she was going into and out of AFib. I thought that was a really cool program. And then the other highlight was the cybersecurity that they have in the CIEDs, and as this relates to medical devices. So it's growing more important in the recent years because we have so many more. So we need to be prepared to have discussions with patients about that. And there are some recommendations that are published by the Heart Rhythm Society to address best practices for this. So if you're interested in learning more about them, click on those links and check it out. And then the most talked about study at the Heart Rhythm Society, this was huge, that's all we heard about the whole time, was the CABA Trial. And the CABA Trial is the catheter ablation versus antiarrhythmic drug therapy for atrial fibrillation. I'm not sure if you've heard about that, but it was really quite the topic of discussion. The investigators asked, they asked a simple question. They wanted to know, in symptomatic patients with risk factors for stroke, is AFib ablation superior to rate or rhythm control medications for the reduction of major outcomes? So again, it's symptomatic patients. What they found was after 5 years of follow-up, there was no significant differences in primary endpoint of the trial. What they were really looking at for their primary endpoints was all-cause mortality, disabling stroke, serious bleeding, or cardiac arrest. So it was ablation versus medical management, treatment, medication. And none of the components of the primary endpoints differed significantly. However, there was a significant reduction in death or CV cardiovascular hospitalization with ablation, and on as-treated analysis, ablation demonstrated superior efficacy to the drug therapy. In the study of a negative primary endpoint, the latter two findings would be considered a hypothesis generating. So meaning there needs to be more studies, more information, and more things done to try to figure these things out so that we, again, can help prevent some of the complications of atrial fib. So speaking of research, just this year, recently, there has been 28, actually this was just announced in Dallas in June 12th of 2018, and the AHA announced that research grants totaling more than $28 million to the scientific teams that will create a new research network that's going to focus on understanding the causes of atrial fib, the treatments, and how to prevent it. So hopefully what we will discover by doing this big introduction and big research project is that the new knowledge they discover will provide a basis to generate more effective ways to treat and prevent disease. So again, you know, right now estimated 6.1 million affected, and that's since 2010. I think that's jumped quite a bit from in the last 2 years. It's the most common heart abnormality in the United States, and a lot of people, as you know, don't even know that they have it. And then the number is expected to rise to 12.1 million by 2030 as our population continues to age. So new knowledge discovered from Research Network will provide the basis to generate more effective ways to treat and prevent AFib. So the 6 institutions within the Research Network right now include the Cleveland Clinic, the University of Utah, Stanford University, Boston University, Northwestern University, and Vanderbilt University. So if you want to read more about these grants, the link is right here. So you can just click on that link or copy and paste it into your browser, and you can learn more about that 28 million grant for research. Pretty exciting. I think we're going to see a lot of things changing in the treatment of AFib for the better. I'm going to go back to that. Any questions about that? Any comments? Star 6, mute, unmute. Okay. So I don't know if you're aware, but the AHA website we just launched a new website this week. So there's lots of AFib resources available. So again, of course, I am going to go in so that we can just take a look at some of these and try to navigate through some of it. I think you're going to find that the new website is easier to navigate, and there's a lot of excellent information for you, for your patients, for everything. So when you go in, this is the page. You type in or go to the link. That's www.heart.org. Sorry. And then when you look at it, so there's some general information here. But then if you go to health topics and AFib, atrial fib, then you're going to find a wealth of information here. So there's information just to learn what is it. There's a website here that goes, why AFib, so it goes through all of that. It's really good for your patients. There's links. They have animations so that the patients can actually see what is happening with atrial fib. What does it really mean, and what is happening in my heart? So it actually will show you that information. So there's more about symptoms, does somebody have a question?
Hi, Deb. This is Takia Wilson. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Takia Wilson with AHA also. And I just wanted to plug the website for patients. I remember you just mentioned that there is a good source of information for healthcare providers, but some patients have been recently diagnosed, and a lot of them I've been finding out are quite young, and they just don't know why them. So there is a really great website for patients called My AFib Experience, and it's www.myafibexperience.org, and you can actually get to it on the site that Deb was just showing you. But it's an online community for patients that have been recently diagnosed with AFib to just kind of get into a group or a forum that can identify themselves with people that's like them. Most of the people that I've been hearing about that have been recently diagnosed have been, like I said, young, and there have been people that have been so active in physical activity, working out every day or running miles like every day, and thinking that they're, doing everything right for their body, they're super healthy, but yet and still they've recently been diagnosed with this disease. So it just comes out of left field sometimes. But this is a really great place where patients can go to seek help and some support for other people that may be experiencing some of the same symptoms and changes to lifestyle that the recently diagnosed patient could be experiencing. So I just wanted to throw that in there. Deb, I apologize, but it's myafibexperience.org, so be sure to share that with some of your patients.
Yes, thank you, Takia. That's great. That's great information. I have been on that website, and you're right. There is some absolutely excellent stuff. Oops. So then we also have here the Watch, Learn, and Live. So you can explore the library there, and again, there's all kinds of information that will show you. So I don't know, I can't remember for sure where that heart one was that showed the atrial fib, but it is really good. So that is just one spot there for the atrial fib. And then you also can go to the professionals. So if you go to professionals and then go to the Get With the Guidelines and go to the AFib module, you're going to find, again, tons of information. So there's the overview that I showed you, that little video. How to join the Get With the Guidelines AFib, that it's the patient management. There's clinical tools in here. So all kinds of things, fact sheets, there's CABA VAST toolkit that you can use. It shows you how to configure this in your Get With the Guidelines program. I'm going to go back. The fact sheets are there. The ablation information is there. The guidelines, the 2016, the new guidelines are there. So there is a lot of places where you can go to learn more and find out more about AFib and to use, like Takia said, with your patients. Here is where you will go to look to find your workshops, any workshops that are available. So if you scroll down, then you can just click on there. There's the ACC AHA Clinical Performance and Quality Measures for adults with atrial fib. So that was a webinar done not too long ago. And you can click on the video, and you also can view the transcript of the discussion that was done during that webinar. So if you just click on document, it will open up the transcript. So you'll be able to see the slides, the video, and you can see the transcript. The same for the left atrial appendage closure for stroke prevention, and then targeting a new area of AFib, introducing the Get With the Guidelines AFib ablation feature. So again, some really good information. You can go in and look at it any time that you have, if you ever have time. I know that sometimes you don't, but that might be helpful for you. And then the resources for patients and professionals. This is what's so amazing. So they can go in, and there's an interactive risk calculator for the CHADS-VASc score. And so they just can go down there and click, yes or no on their questions. And then when you hit next, then it will give you, your answers and your, whoops, sorry about that, the answers to it and what your risk is for stroke. So it's really kind of cool. Partnering in your treatment. So here's a really good kind of handout thing that you could use if you're doing some education with your patients, or to provide for your cardiologist offices maybe. That you can just use as an interactive educational tool with your patients. And it will give them something then, hard copy, that they can take home and review. And then you can do how your medications lower your risk, the guidelines for treating. There's a medication tracker so that they can track to make sure that they're getting their medications at the right time and at the right dosages and all of that kind of thing. So it's all good materials. Feel free to download. You can use them as you like. There's a symptom tracker thing here. Oh, I think it's down over here. So atrial fib, and then the symptom tracker. But again, here's all kinds of information. What is the arrhythmia? So anything that you find in here, again, feel free to use. That's what it's for. Oh, there's the AFib experience. That was that website. And then what are the direct oral acting anticoagulants? So there's just, again, lots of information. There's PDFs. You can frequently ask questions. You can download this stuff. There's in Spanish. They talk a little bit about how it relates to stroke, how AFib relates to stroke. So again, look through these tools. You can look at almost any health topic that you want here. It's got wonderful information, and the area for professionals as well. So, it talks about the different screenings. So just feel free to go in www.heart.org and just look around and see what you can find. Any questions? Comments? Hey.
Feel free to type in a chat box if you think it's a nice website, if it's going to be useful for you. Feel free to type yes, or that we love it, or could use some different things. We definitely want to be sure to incorporate your ideas as we move forward with trying to adopt some new measures and new strategies for AFib.
Are we getting any yeses, Michelle?
Any, Michelle? Nothing so far. The Q&A box is located on the right-hand side of your screen.
Okay. Oops. Guess I got to get back into the mode here. Okay. So professional education resources. I'm actually coming to the end of the presentation, so I hope you have comments, questions, or information that you like, or you may get some time back. So the professional education, we already showed you a bunch of things that you can go in. But the other thing is the cryptogenic stroke resources. So cryptogenic stroke, many of these are caused by AFib, unknown AFib. So there, again, are some free resources that are available for you, for your patients, and whatever. So feel free to download anything. Here is the website. I'm not going to go through the website again, but, you know, it's just a good, the cryptogenic stroke is one that people really need to try to figure out what the cause was, because how can you prevent a cryptogenic stroke if you don't know what's causing it? So these are really great resources. When you get in, when you get in there, there's a link, Tools for Professionals. You can look at all of these things. There's testimonials, case studies, you know, things that you can use. And then there's also, like I said, the tools for your patients. So please utilize this information. I think it'll be very helpful in your programs. And we are available, as was stated in the video, the QSI directors in your area are all available to work one-on-one with you. If you have questions, if you need assistance with your database, if you need assistance with running reports, anything like that, or if you need assistance with process improvement, we can help to talk about things that we've seen across the country that works for other hospitals. So please feel free to reach out to your AHA director, QSI director. So important dates. We have some more important dates here. So August 29th, quarter 2 data is due to be entered in to get with the guidelines. So this is not the same date as we showed at the beginning, where we are actually running the information. These are a little bit later, but these are more for your actual award information. So if you can have, by August 29th, the Q2 data done. October 30th is Q core abstracts are due. So if you have some really great things that you would like to share at a conference, then write an abstract and send that in. October 30th is the day. Go to the Q core website, and I'm sure there'll be more information about how to write abstracts and what kind of things to put in there. There may even be some examples. But share your information. When you're doing such wonderful things for your patients, share that with your colleagues across the U.S., because we're all here for the same thing, and that is to improve the care that we give for our patients. October, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I forgot to change the quality exchange. So actually November 1 will be, or October 31st, I don't know if there's 31 days, will be the AFib quality exchange call. So that'll be the next one. It's the day after the stroke one. You can get the Get with the Guidelines poster reception. It's the scientific sessions. Will be in Chicago this year on November 9th, and there will be some kind of recognition at that scientific session for those of you who achieved award level for the Get with the Guidelines AFib module. On November 29th, Q3 data is due to be entered in to Get with the Guidelines. January 29th is, so January 30th, is the atrial fib exchange call. Yesterday we had our stroke. So I don't know if you know, but for all of our modules, we do have an exchange call. So yesterday we did heart failure and stroke. This morning was resuscitation, and now we have AFib. And tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, I think, is the CAD. So feel free to join any of those exchanges if you're interested in more information. March 1, your quality 4 data is due to be entered into Get with the Guidelines. We said February 28th. It's pretty much the same, because your last date, final date to change anything, is March 29th. After March 29th, then all of the information is downloaded. It goes to the National Center, where they sift through all of the information and look to see who achieved the award level, whether it be bronze, silver, or gold. So March 29th, again, is the date, but you will be getting the information from the day-to-day through the exchanges, so you can be looking ongoing rather than waiting until like March 28th and saying, oh my gosh, I have to look at 20 charts here to see if there's anything that I missed. So these are just really helpful dates for you. April 5 and 6 of 2019 will be the Q-Core conference. That's at the Ritz-Carlton, Pentagon City in D.C. And the new venue this year, again, will be Get With the Guidelines. So there will be a track for Get With the Guidelines. And that it's going to be at this particular conference where the annual recognition event will occur for those of you who have received an award. So I really hope if you have received an award, you will be able to attend some of these conferences so that you can be recognized for the great work that you're doing. Besides, you'll also be recognized if you're silver or gold in the U.S. World and News Report. That should be coming out, I think, in maybe September. I'm not positive. And then in May 2019 will be when the next round for calendar year 2018 Get With the Guidelines Awards will be announced and will be sent to you, and we can do the recognition ceremonies and things if that's something that would be of interest to you. All you have to do is check with your director, and we'll be happy to come for your recognition and to provide a plaque or something. Even if you want to do some kind of an event, because there's a lot of opportunity right now for people who are working with AFib to be recognized, and hopefully that this program will continue to grow, more and more interest, all in the name of preventing complications. So that's really all I have today. I thank you for attending, and please open it up for any questions or comments that you may have, or type in the chat box. *6, mute or unmute your line. I'm giving you time to mute or unmute your line. *6. Sorry. Okay. Well, then I'm going to turn it back to Michelle. Well, actually, first, Michelle, is there anything in the chat box? No yeses yet?
No, there's nothing on the chat box, Deb.
Oh, darn it. Okay, so I'm going to turn it back to Michelle for some closing comments.
Deb, this is Allison.
Hey, Allison.
Hey, sorry, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know how many people on this group are part of Get With the Guidelines Stroke as well, but I thought I'd put a little plug in. This is sort of ties with the AFib cryptogenic stroke stuff we were talking about earlier. I've had several hospitals reach out to me about how to pull reports to identify where their cryptogenic strokes due to AFib patients are and how they can identify those. There's hospitals, I think, that are trying to drill down on this population. Maybe their cardiologists or their electrophysiologists are kind of wanting more information on who these patients are, and maybe figuring out ways to sort of get to them faster before discharge so they can come up with a better outpatient plan, or if they want to do some sort of procedure or anything like that. So these are opportunities as, you know, as a stroke coordinator, as a person over a stroke program, to help build your program. So if you're looking for ways to do that and you're looking for help on how to pull that report, we can help you do that. There's already a report built in your Get With the Guidelines stroke tool that can help you identify those cryptogenic stroke due to AFib patients. So I just wanted to put that out there as like a, you know, another thing that we can help with. So I'll just leave that there.
Thanks, Allison. That's great information. Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle.
Well, I think you were great, Deb. Just as a reminder, the slides and the recording will be provided to you within 1 week of this call. If you have any other questions, please feel free to contact Deb. Thank you once again for joining. Have a wonderful evening.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.